morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Ashley McCool, the principal here at Moseley, and I'm very excited about our dedication this morning. Just wanted to share a little bit about how this kind of came about. When I came here a couple of years ago, actually when I went to school here many years ago, the cafeteria used to have, it had cinder blocks sideways, air vents through it. And I guess at some point they closed it and they made a nice big concrete block wall and they didn't brick it over. And every time I would drive by, I was like, that's the perfect place for some sort of mural. And so in my head, I was like, I want to do that before I leave Moseley. There were a couple of things I want to do. And if you're not sure, this is my last year at Moseley. I'll be going to Browning Pierce starting next year. So it's kind of exciting how it all came together. Alice and Ms. Parkinson came to me a couple months earlier this year before Christmas, and they said, we have an idea, because we talked about wanting to make sure our kids learned a little history about who William D. Moseley was. If you grew up in Palatka, Moseley is the elementary school. That's what everybody thinks of when you hear the word Moseley. And there's a Moseley Avenue, which isn't in front of the elementary school, it's behind the middle school. So, you know, it's a road, and we know that, but I thought, well, you know, our kids probably need to learn a little bit about who William Moseley is and was. And so we thought this would be a great opportunity for them to learn about him. So Alice Adams, who took on as the coordinator for this project, contacted the local mural committee, because I said if we're going to do this, I would like for it to be a part of that. So it's always protected and part of our history in our community. And as people come to visit our community, we'll bring them down Hudson Avenue so that they can see the other sides of Palatka. And so I appreciate Alice and all her hard work in getting it together. And so who we have with us today, Mr. Lee will do some formal introductions in a minute, but I did want to let you guys know our 5th grade safety patrol students have joined us this morning. These are the best of our 5th graders who show their great character every day and work with our students, and I thought this would be a good opportunity for them to hear it firsthand. And so this time
William D. Moseley, Florida's first elected governor, was born in North Carolina on February 1st, 1795. Moseley graduated from the University of North Carolina, where he studied law. He established a private practice in Wilmington, North Carolina, and then entered politics as a member of the Senate. After serving as a member of the North Carolina State Senate for 7 years, he moved his family to Miccosukee Lake, Florida, and returned to his career in public service. He served in the Florida Territorial House of Representatives and Senate.
On May 26, 1845, almost exactly 171 years ago, William Moseley was elected governor of Florida. During his time in office, he advocated for states' rights and understood the development of agriculture in the state. After Moseley retired from public service in 1849, he returned to his home in the Tallahassee area and later moved to Palatka, where he operated a large citrus grove. The grove was most likely located on 160 acres located from Lemon Street to Whitewater Branch, which is now known as St. John's Avenue and the Ravine Gardens.
In his message to the Florida legislature, William Moseley stressed the importance of adequate educational advantages. It was a main supporter of creating state-funded public schools. He felt instruction should be available to everyone. William Moseley died on January 4th, 1863 at the age of 68, and he is buried at the Westview Cemetery in Palatka, Florida.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so at this time, Mr. Alexander, if you would please join us and give us a little information about the mural project and what you do.
I'm sorry?
And you can share a little bit about what you do with the mural committees. Our students will know.
To the city and county officials, to family members of William D. Moseley, Ms. McCool, Ms. Adams, parents, students, the teachers. We thank you so much for inviting us to come here and share in the dedication of this beautiful mural that Ms. Matunis and her husband painted. Would the mural members come up with me? There are about 13 of us, 12 or 13 of us, but these are the ones that were able to come today. my wife, Miss Gwen Alexander, and Mr. Larry Beaton. Of course, we are the members of the Colin Snyder Mural Committee. I'm the chairman. We are responsible for the murals that are downtown. I don't know, have many of you boys and girls seen the murals that are downtown painted on the wall? Oh, real good. So those murals, we take care of those murals. We select what's going to be painted. We choose the artists, and many times Ms. Mattunis is one of them. And when I say we take care of them, we have to have them pressure washed. We have to have them coated so that they will not be faded against from the wind and the rain and the elements. We have to touch them up sometimes so that they will last over a long period of time, because those murals are very expensive. So if you are with your parents or any of your friends, maybe visiting on the weekends, and you go downtown to see the murals, you will look at there's a barcode on the murals, and you can take your cell phone and it will cue in on that barcode, and it will tell you the history behind those murals. I keep looking at the children because it's kind of like a history for them. Our murals are historical. Our murals tell about the history of Palatka. They're just not pretty colors, pictures that are on the wall because they're pretty. They have to do with the history of Palatka in some fashion. There's a mural up there that you may have seen with a lot of flowers on it. Well, you might say, well, what does that have to do with Palatka? Well, those flowers are flowers that grow in this area, mostly in this area. We don't have any flowers up there that don't grow in this area. So that's how it relates to Palatka and Putnam County. You have to care about the murals. You have to love them in order to work with them. And this is why the Mural Committee does this. We meet about once a month, and we decide what we're going to do with the murals, or we're going to get a new mural, or what needs to be done. This is the job that we have, and we enjoy it. We do it for the community, and we do it for people who are coming in from the other places, so that they will have nice things to see on the walls of Palatka. We're kind of known as the Mural City. I don't know if any of you boys and girls are interested in painting or drawing. Any of you here, or do you like to draw or paint? Well, good. You may grow up someday and paint a mural. You never can tell. But it's a thing that you really have to love. You see the care and love that it took for Mr. and Ms. Mattunis to paint that mural outside, which is beautiful. As far as the history is concerned, I'd like to commend you for selecting that particular mural to be placed outside of your school, because it continues what we're doing. It's about the history of Palatka. William D. Moseley was a part of Palatka, and the history continues as it goes on from year to year. And we'd like to thank you for asking us to come here today, and we thank you for having that mural painted out there. It's beautiful. Would either one of you like to have anything to say?
I'm going to be running my mouth in just a minute, so I'll move off on comments right now.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
I promise to be through talking by at least 3 p.m. I get called down for that quite often, so just give me the sign, you know, when it's time to cut off. Well, I want to thank the teachers and these young ladies for the great job they did of covering the history of Moseley. I hope everyone was paying attention to that, because I'm getting ready to hand out a 50-question test, multiple choice, no essay, so y'all should do pretty good on their information. Well, in behalf of Conrad Van Rensburg, President of the Putnam County Historical Society, and all our officers and directors, we want to thank you for inviting us to be a part of this great day today, dedicating this beautiful mural that's been done. You heard a lot about Moseley, and I'm just going to give you just a little bit of trivia that kind of fills in a little information that you just got through hearing. So we heard that Governor Moseley came from North Carolina. He married Susan Hill. They had 6 children, and his wife passed away before he ever served as governor. So he was a widower during the time that he was governor. The plantation that he purchased when he came from North Carolina had a name. It was common in those days to name the plantations, and it was called Sutherland. And as one of our presenters said, it was near Lake Miccosukee in Jefferson County. And Jefferson County, the county seat is Monticello. That's just east of Tallahassee. And I have a map, if anybody'd like to see it afterwards, that shows exactly where his plantation was. And we're not talking about an acre worth of cotton. He had 2,400 acres, and he was one of the larger cotton producers of that time. There's a really good book that talks about that. It's called From Cotton to Quail, and if you ever get a chance to read that, it has a lot of details about Moseley and his family. One of the things that I think is significant is during the time that Moseley was governor, the first capitol was completed. And you have to remember, as there were territorial governors prior to Moseley being the elected governor. And I'm a descendant of the 4th territorial governor, Robert Raymond Reed, and that's Reed Street is named for my ancestor. The ladies mentioned that Governor Moseley was a strong advocate of states' rights, and he very much favored the establishment of public schools. In one of his first addresses to the Florida legislature, he said that they should establish public schools in Florida, and the quote is that they should bring instruction to every man's door. And I think that's pretty significant. Okay, so they also mentioned that after he served his 4 years, he only served 1 term as governor, he returned to his plantation, Sutherland, which in 1850 was mostly cotton, but he had begun experimenting with growing citrus, primarily orange, but it was small. And throughout his term as governor, he supported the planting, and I think you mentioned this also, the planting of citrus, avocados, and cotton throughout the state, because he saw Florida as being an agriculture center for the United States, especially for the South. When he moved to Palatka, he built a very modest home. Almost everybody in Palatka at one time thinks that the big house on St. John's Avenue was Governor Moseley's house. Well, he had been deceased for almost 10 years when that house was built. So the confusion is, it was on part of Moseley's tract of land. It was part of his estate. His house was further south of there. And as one of the ladies also very aptly described, his property ran pretty much from Reed Street all the way down to the Ravine Gardens. And he used Whitewater Branch, just like the early Palatka residents did, as a source of water, fresh water. So Governor Moseley's residence was kind of out of town, so to speak. And that actually later became a town called Palatka Heights. It was actually an incorporated town with a mayor and so forth. By June of 1862, during the Civil War, he was 67 years old, and he had retired from business and public life. He was in very poor health. And the Union gunboats came here to Palatka, and they thought there was a good possibility the town was going to be burned and shelled. And so a group of citizens went to Governor Moseley and said, would you go talk to him? Because they knew he was such a wonderful statesman. And even in poor health and all, he was able to make his way down to the docks and try to implore the Union soldiers. And there's a whole very interesting story about that I would encourage you to read, with Mary Boyd being a heroine that saved Palatka from being destroyed in conjunction with Governor Moseley. One other thing I want to point out to you that I'm suspecting that most people in this room don't know. William Moseley Husson, the son of the second daughter of Governor Moseley, is the namesake of Husson Avenue. So there's the Husson-Moseley connection that a lot of people probably don't know about. He became a very famous civil engineer. He had an engineering firm here in Palatka, and later he became the chief draftsman for the United States Weather Bureau in Washington. He became a very famous person. Governor Moseley, as was also indicated in the great presentation that we heard, passed away at the home of his daughter, Elizabeth, who was the wife of Judge T.S. Houghton. I want to thank each and every one of you for honoring the memory of our first governor and great citizen of Palatka. Thank you.